Today I am refreshing my kitchen using paint, Facebook Marketplace finds, and some treasures I flipped from the Goodwill Bins. So won't you join me and let's turn this into a cozy kitchen I love being in. So here is my kitchen island, and when we bought this house a couple years ago, I thought I love that they painted the island a different color than the cabinets, but I always wanted an increased contrast, I would say, between them, because as you look at my walls, they are a nice soft gray and also white for the trim, which I think is so beautiful. But I just wanted an additional bit of pop on the island. The Backsplash has this patchwork print tile, and it's just a little bit busy for my taste, so I thought maybe I could just work with it a little bit. And I'd like to add some spring decor to the countertops and update the coffee bar. All of this on a very tight budget. So let's head on over to the Home Depot and pick out some paint. Now I knew I wanted to use an off black color, but I had no idea there were so many different types of black. And so I settled on carbon. And I went over to the aisles and I picked out the urethane acid enamel, which Good Housekeeping had recommended as the best paint for cabinets. I had them mix it up and off to paint we go. My sweet husband helped me by taking the hardware off of the cabinets and also starting the taping. I want you to see this is my trash cabinet, and you can see it has a lot of chips. So not only did I need to repaint it to increase the contrast, but also because it was ready. So the first thing I'm going to do is put painter's tape all around the edges. And a quick tip I have is when putting your tape down into the corner, use a razor blade to cut that line straight across so you can get as close to the cabinet as possible. All right, I've got all my plastic down, and so now I am ready to clean. So I am using TSP Substitute. And just follow the directions on the package. And one thing I did use was a separate sponge. I bought a brand new sponge so I would not mix my dish sponge with chemicals. Whew, I'm a bit out of breath. While I was waiting for the TSP to dry on the cabinets, I went outside to help. And so we've been working this humongous pile of mulch to put in all of our planters and in our plants. The next step is to sand. The paint that I bought says it has a primer in it and that sanding isn't required. However, the guy told us he thought that we would have better adhesion if we sanded. And since I'm going through all this work, I want it to stick. So I'm going to start off with 220 grit sandpaper, and we'll see. All I'm trying to do is just rough up the surface just a little bit. So the 220 is totally taking off the paint and not just roughing up the surface. I do not want to take off all the edges on the cabinets. So I'll be back and let you know what he told me. My husband said, don't worry about sanding, let's just go for it. He touched the cabinets, he didn't think they were that slick. Since this is a primer all-in-one, it should work. And you can see it says excellent adhesion, outstanding flow and leveling, less odor. I am gonna go in here and I wanna make sure I give it a good stir. So I've got a Wooster Pro brush for like cut in, and I have a foam roller for where we can smooth it out. want you to see up here what you don't want to do. You see that right there? Those are drip marks. I'm going to take my sandpaper and resand that down. There's my doggy. Earlier this morning, I did a second coat on this side and I used the roller. And look how nice and clean that looks, no brush strokes. And I just want to show you, this is just what it looks like after one coat. So don't be afraid if it looks so scary, it will come together. I used 2 full coats and a half a coat, I'm gonna call it, because I did go back in and touch things up. And I didn't want to forget the light socket. I think that adds a nice finishing touch. And so I went ahead and painted that too. One of the last steps is to put on some bumpers in here. And I'm using these Scotch bumpers. So I'm going to just peel it off and put it right up here at the top. And I'm also going to put one right here at the bottom corner. Door closes. Perfect. This is how the kitchen island turned out. Oh my gosh, I love it with this granite. It took me 3 days to complete in about 20 hours. And I'm so glad I stuck with it because I love it. And to finish off the island, we can't forget the lighting, right? So this is a reminder of what the lighting looked like before. And these are the lights that I found on Facebook Marketplace. Yes, I thought they were so gorgeous, and I got the pair for only $75. And so we asked our friend who's an electrician to help us install them. And I found out from the person I bought them from that the lights were $238 each. Oh my goodness, what a blessing. And look how gorgeous they turned out. I think they are the perfect touch to finish off the island. And now let's get into the DIYs I found and all of the pieces that I got from the Goodwill bins and gave them a second life in the kitchen. This first item is a spindle tray, and it has a wonderful base and 2 wire racks. And what I wanted to do was update that gray again with some matte black. And so we used some spray paint. My sweet husband was helping me with this project. And then once it dried, we assembled it back together, and let's put it on in the kitchen. Next is project number 4, camouflaging the backsplash. And so I had hauled 3 different cutting boards from the Goodwill bins at different times and a sign. And I thought they would be so beautiful to add behind the stove to place up against the backsplash and to soften that a bit. So I thought we'd start by sanding the cutting boards, and then we're going to bring new life back into them. I've got them all sanded, and I want you to see, look, most of that name came off, and all of the cut marks really came off. You want to wipe it off with a tack cloth. Can you see all the little sawdust that is on there? So I'm gonna wipe off all of my boards. And this one was the sign. Isn't that so cool? It's all blank, just a piece of wood. And my thought is that I'm gonna do 3 cutting boards to put up in the kitchen, and then 1 tray. What I'm using is this cutting board oil, and this is available on Amazon. I'll put a link to that in the description in case you're looking for it. This is food safe. So it gives all the directions here. And so all I'm gonna do is put this on and then I'm going to put it on here, and look at the color that it brings back. Oh my gosh, that is so pretty, right? And it's just because your board is a little bit thirsty. I'm hoping this is gonna look so cool. I already like that it started off with different color of wood. This is pine. So I am gonna try to make it look older with some antiquing wax, and this will not be food safe. I'm gonna apply it the same way, which is that I've been doing the oil. Ooh. This board is just drinking up all of this antiquing wax. It is very dry, so I am pouring it on now instead, and then using the paper towel to go ahead and rub that in throughout the surfaces. And I'm gonna pay extra attention to the edges and give it a little extra dose to add some additional coloring. I'm gonna let all three boards sit and rest and dry, and then when they're ready, let's go ahead and add them to the kitchen. So what I want to do is make a carrot, and I got this cone from the bins, and I got this jute twine from the bins. This carrot is just a little bit too long, and so I'm going to take my serrated knife and then cut it. Just gonna shave that off, and I'm going to shape it a little. So now all I'm going to do is take this jute twine, and I'm going to start from the bottom here. I'm going to put just a tiny dab of glue there, and I'm going to put that in and just hold that in place. Add a little bit more hot glue, and I'm going to start going around in a circle. You'll have to forgive my fingernails. I have been painting with black paint and then also waxing with this antiquing wax, and so I've washed my hands, but I've got some staining going on under my fingernails right now. Okay, so there's the tip of our carrot. I love that. And then we're just going to apply hot glue basically and wind this all the way around. Now you do want to make sure your glue isn't showing, and so you've definitely got to use thick enough jute so that it will cover it and not show. Put a little bit of glue every now and then. Okay. Maybe where it's thicker is where I'll, because you know, see how the jute twine got a little thicker right there. So I think if you wanted to make it easier, you wouldn't have to shave this top part, and you could just leave it, you know, straight like a cone. I think it would be easier to get your jute around it. Do you think I'm gonna make it with this roll, or I might have to get out a little bit more jute? We'll have to see. Now that I'm at the top, I want to add the carrot topper. So I'm just cutting off each of these little branches and sticking them in the top center of the styrofoam cone. And once they are all in place, I'm just going to take the jute and wrap that twine around. Okay, I'm at the very end of that roll. Oh my gosh, it looks like it's gonna fit perfectly. So I'm just putting it in there up the top. Oh my gosh, is that not the cutest? Oh my gosh, I-L-O-V-E this. I love this. So let's go ahead and style it. So I have this little piece of lily here, and it has really outgrown its pot and it doesn't have very much dirt in it. If you do not have a green thumb, this is the plant for you, because even if you forget to water it and it's like all fallen over, if you just give it a good soaking and not even food, it always bounces back. So I have this pot from an annual last year. So what I'm going to do is kind of dig this little stem out, loosen that dirt, and then I'm going to reuse this pot, which is a little bigger than this one, and repot my plant. And I loosened all this dirt up, and so I'm going to pour some out to the side so that I make room for this plant. Okay, and I'm just gonna try and make like a little well for this plant. Let's see if I can do this with one hand. So I'm going to go ahead. I loosened up those roots to make it easier for it to take hold. And now I'm going to add this other dirt back in, and then we'll be ready to bring it back inside. So it's gonna go into this pot right here. I'm gonna remove this one dead leaf, and I'm going to water it and let it sit in its new home. So here it is, and I've added a little green bunny with some carrots on a little elevated tray to zhuzh up this corner of the island. So now let's take a final look at the finished, updated kitchen on a budget. I think my favorite project was how the island turned out. That little bit of black paint just really transformed it, and I love the contrast and the lights above. And I think what I learned most is, you know, it never takes a lot of money to make some beautiful changes or to make something personal to your style. Just a little bit of creativity and paint and the bins, and you can make beautiful things for almost nothing. So tell me, what was your favorite project? I'd love to know in the comments, and I love hearing what you're up to too. So thanks again for spending some time with me, and I hope you find tons of cozy discoveries.